Thank you so much. I'm here. If the team can get me in live and the spotlight on me and the panelists, we have, we had an excellent start and really, as Sabas said and as my mother said when I was 12 years old, that the biggest thing in life is time. How we manage our time. Time is a new currency, and we can add after COVID is health. So time and how you manage time is very important. I loved the presentation from Piyush, the president of Kestone. I also saw what virtual console showcase. So clearly, event tech is growing. And now we're going to discuss with Sachin, Anubhav, Piyush, Vishal, and Ganesh. What are the elements which are going to drive growth in hybrid event platforms and hybrid event? Let me ask by bringing each one of them for their opening comment. I'd like to first bring in Ganesh. Ganesh, your opening comment on what will drive the growth in hybrid events.
A lot of us, I also come from an event industry. So, when the sunset of the event industry, the virtual scene sort of came to life more for, it's the necessity is the mother of invention. So that's how we sort of get started. Hybrid, when I say hybrid, we were already seeing some convergence towards the fag end of 2019. Technology was already sort of integrating with live, and then obviously the pandemic happened. So the live part of the technology sort of moved out, and entirely the virtual, almost completely virtual scenario sort of set in, it's whenever our minds are sort of stretched by a new reality or a new experience, it never comes back to what it used to be. So I think the same probably is very likely in the new scenario. The virtual part or virtual components of communication and events is going to be an integral part of how we take things forward. So the elements really that will drive, obviously, like any other communication or events, engagement and content is going to drive the overall communications and events industry. So obviously the hybrid part also will be driven pretty much by the engagement and content. Content has always been there, but I think what hybrid or virtual really brings to the table is the opportunity to get engagement into the whole mix. We've had at some level exposure to hybrid in terms of the film fairs or the Oscars that we've been watching. So that it's live, and it is also sort of shown sort of deferred live to people, or cricket matches or whatever it is. But engagement had not been part of it. But now with the technology that is available, I think a lot more people will participate even remotely. So whether it is social events, public events, or even with your corporate events, there is this dimension of time and money which has to be kept in mind for planning any kind of communication or event plans. Now, previously it's not that this technology wasn't available, but it was not really a need because experience would win, and we were focusing pretty much only on experience. Now, we've done a fair few events, and personally at TECHXP we've done more than 5,000-6,000 events. So it comes. Sorry.
So Ganesh, what is that one thing? Like Sabas said, content. It's about experiences. We know that, and Piyush was talking about networking, and in our research also, attendee to attendee interaction is really, and customization. These two were the really two things that came out in research, which will really drive the adoption. Then was security, then was the pricing, then was scalability. So in your view, if you had to pick up one thing which will really help in the hybrid events, I wouldn't say pure virtual till the day we don't have full control over the pandemic, but post that, when we have a choice, we will have the best of both worlds. So that's one thing that will really drive the adoption of virtual events and event tech platforms to the next level. That one thing.
Let me then just simply say the evolution of technology and infrastructure. That is going to be one of the most critical factors. The reason being that even today, the technology is about evolving, and secondly, the internet infrastructure in the best case scenario is there and thereabouts. It can definitely 5G coming in, etc. So that will fuel a lot of the innovations, which will make content more compelling and more engaging. So I think evolution of technology.
Thank you so much. Let me bring in Vishal Puri, who's the co-founder of SPALBA. I hope I'm pronouncing SPALBA.
SPALBA.
Yeah. SPALBA. Okay,
Yeah.
That's why Italian. That's why Italians are known for their design and for being chic in the true sense. So let me ask you, Vishal. You heard Ganesh. Before that, you heard Piyush, and you heard Sabas, and you heard the founder of VouchPro Group. So, give us your opening comments and tell us, what do you think is that one thing that customers are looking? There are three stakeholders: the customers, as in the clients who use the platform, the attendees, and the content makers, people who are speaking at the conference or a jury. So, give us a sense of what will really make sure that these platforms become mainstream, and what will differentiate one platform from another.
Thank you, Dr. Batra. While we have all spoken about technology being there, driving the hybrid events growth all throughout the foreseeable future that we see right now. So I agree with that. The technology obviously is going to be a big driver for the hybrid events. But there are a few other key points that I just want to kind of bring up here. From a customer side, I think, and brand side, the ROI choices that they have right now. If you look at the pre-pandemic world, from an events perspective, the choices were fairly limited in terms of ROI. You have to basically go and do a physical event because the virtual was not mainstream. Hybrid was not even talked about at that time. So ROI across various formats that are available now, using various technologies that are getting available now, from a brand standpoint, is going to be the key in terms of driving the hybrid. And we have seen hybrid is right up there in terms of being able to deliver the same experiences, same events at a probably 30 or 40% or 50% of the cost. So therefore ROI becomes a major factor. And just one other stakeholder that I want to add to your list of stakeholders, Dr. Batra, was the overall ecosystem that is getting made as we speak. Sustainability, right? We've seen big push on sustainability, reducing carbon footprint over the last 1 year. US government has recently released a $4 trillion budget on infrastructure, mainly focused on the green technologies. And we're seeing similar trends across Europe and China and across the world. As an industry, events industry cannot stay away from this global trend. We have to have formats which are more sustainable and which deliver the same experiences at a much more lower carbon footprint. And hybrid is one such format where this can be made very easily possible. We recently did an event, a global event, Rising Dialogue, and this was done in hybrid format. And I think our estimate was that roughly about we could save roughly about 70 to 80% of the carbon footprint, which otherwise would have been spent on doing a physical event of that scale. So to me, technology, ROI, and sustainability are the three factors that are going to drive the growth of hybrid events going forward.
Thank you so much, because you're looking at macro trends, and then that's how scale up happens. So I'm glad the leaders and founders like you are looking at micro trends, because that's how adoption in a big way will happen and it will become mainstream. Let me bring Anubhav and Sachin into the conversation before I bring Piyush, because Piyush just spoke. Anubhav, you're the CEO and founder of VouchPro. You heard your colleagues, your fellow industry leaders talk about what will drive mass adoption and how do we make sure we drive growth in the virtual event space. Your opening comments, Anubhav.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Batra, and first of all, thank you for having me in this esteemed panel. Wherein I can meet and greet fellow industry leaders. So to start with, as Vishal, Piyush, and Ganesh had very clearly pointed out. So for me, the first perspective is the outreach that virtual or hybrid events are creating nowadays. Just imagine those days wherein those global events used to happen in some part of the world, and how many people had means to attend them. But now, I mean, practically you can attend any event globally that is happening, and you can do that right from your living room. So that's. I mean, for me, the outreach is the most important factor that virtual and hybrid events industry has brought in. And the second, I'll second Vishal on that, the ROI. The kind of ROI that, brands are generating, basis the same, if you compare the budgets and if you compare the kind of engagement that happens, if you compare the kind of footfall that happens in these virtual or hybrid events, ROI is just not comparable. I mean, you can't compare it with the previous world. I mean, it's unfortunate, or rather you can say, yes, it is ironical also.
I would say it's a trade-off. In every situation, there's a trade-off. There is some gain and there's some pain. So I would use the word trade-off.
Yeah, it is definitely a trade-off. I mean, it's ironical that we are in a pandemic world. But then, to be very honest, we've been, pitching hybrid or virtual events since early 2017. So we've had these platforms ready and we've showcased this to brands. But it was very difficult for the brands to even visualize how are, they going to do these events. And, all of a sudden, what has happened is since last year, April, that is the time wherein, everybody has got together and, it was a joint push of our industry, you can say.
I have a different take on it. Ayush, I would say COVID was the chief digital transformation officer. It ensured that we all went through digital transformation,
Yes.
I mean, and of course, the industry was then fast to adapt to it.
Yeah, not only events, Anurag. I mean, it has also transformed the way how brands are actually putting across their products in front of the customers. I mean, yes, events are a day's kind of an activity, but then we've done quite a few projects wherein we've created a virtual showcase, whether it is a property showcase, whether it is a product showcase. I mean, countless such exhibitions or showcases have happened. And there are some properties which are like physical properties, which are like permanent properties available online, digital properties available online. For example, HDFC Bank, which is are one of the biggest customers, they actually organized a virtual shopping mall. They have this festive treats campaign every year, which is the most, which is the biggest campaign these guys run. Now, the entire concept of, offers was translated into a virtual mall, which actually stayed for months. And we had over 3.5 million transactions.
So clearly what Ayush is saying is talking of 3.5 million transactions.
Yeah,
what happened in the physical world online, and that is possible. Let me bring in Sachin Talwar, the director with Streamy Tech and Wow Event. Sachin, your perspective before I bring in Piyush again.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you, Dr. Batra, for inviting. These unprecedented times has also brought in unprecedented opportunity for innovation and audience growth. So what has happened is our virtual economy or event economy is also going through mutation. Okay. So what it has done, it has brought.
I like the fact you say that our economy is also going through mutation as
virtual event economy. Absolutely. So what has happened is it has opened up new audience to the new content, which was always available, because the geography is history, and everyone mentioned in the panel. Now, the one factor, according to me, which will drive hybrid and virtual more is that you already know that India internet penetration is already 50% of our population is connected to internet, and 34% already access that internet through mobile phone. And mobile phone is the real venue in today's virtual age. You can do whatever kind of events, VR, AR, any kind of experience can be experienced. And in these virtual events, large audience is accessing, because a lot of data is available. Maximum number of audience is accessing these events through those mobile phones. So that will definitely drive growth in virtual events. That is what I think.
Thank you, Sachin. I would like to now bring in Piyush. You made your, I loved your presentation and visuals that you showcased, Piyush. And clearly, I'm sure as I see other event tech platforms, my appreciation for this domain will go. But Piyush, you made your opening comments, you heard your colleagues. What do you think is the one big driver that will make adoption happen when there is a choice to do both a physical event and a virtual event? And clearly, even in our research, hybrid is the way forward. So, Piyush, what are your comments in terms of what will make events which are virtual using event tech platforms mainstream and the first option?
Thank you, Dr. Batra, for the kind words and having me here. See, we've always focused on the end customer. I think we can build any technology, we can build any platform, but look at it, if we were not in the COVID situation, we've been doing virtual for the last 5 years now, but there hasn't been an adoption, right? The customers have to be ready to adopt for us to be saying that this is going to work, right? So according to me, if I had to choose one, while I think there is, one will not work, you'll have to have a multiple of it, right? But how does customer is changing, right? The mindset of customer changing becomes important, right? I think that's where the key is. Who's our end customer, which is not just as a B2B, but who's consuming content on the virtual platform. I've heard people saying that, there are so many virtual events happening that we don't want to attend it. There is invite coming in for, every day, 4 events, 5 events. So people don't want to attend. So which means that there's something new that has to be coming in, which means that we'll have to understand the end customer a lot more and keep evolving. Because look at it, this is the starting of an industry, if you put it that way, right? I don't think we know completely on how it's going to evolve, right? So hence the way the end customer behaves, if they are willing to attend physical events will happen. If they're more interested in having a digital attend digitally, then that's how it is. So I believe that that's the key thing. And I also glad that Vishal brought in the point of sustainability. I think that's going to be the key, because everyone is going to, people are focusing on that. So for me, customer first, yeah.
Piyush, let me, listening to you, I can think of the healthcare domain. Or the healthcare, you would go to a doctor physically, and that was the default way of existing, right? But we are much more open to telemedicine or teleconsultation because we were forced to, because we had no choice. Similarly, we were forced to look at virtual events, but we discovered the benefits of that, right? So clearly, both will coexist, and there will be hybrid events. Now, as we've seen in other parts of the world, as COVID and vaccination, grow, where vaccination has grown and where unlocking has happened, physical events have seen the kind of numbers which are huge, which are beyond the peaks. So clearly people want to be at physical events. There's no question about that, especially in a B2C context. And even in a B2B context, the handshakes and the experience are very important. But what I want to ask you is, you were showcasing your learnings, and I want to ask this to everyone. Piyush, what is that one learning from doing so many events on virtual platforms? You talked about some of those, but give us that one thing that you learned that you didn't know before you did these events on a very large numbers. So give us that one insight.
Yeah, I would not say we didn't know, but when we did the first set of 50 events, and then we kind of did the rest 500 events, right? What we've learned is, in the digital world, the customer gets a little lost, saying that, okay, how do I go about it, right? The more you can customize it, make it more experiential, and make it very focused for that individual, they would not attend a full day event. Let's also be right. I don't think so. When we used to do physical events, right? There were an 8-hour event going on, 6-hour event going on, and the customer comes in and goes off, after the event gets over, right? Giving up the feedback form and then only moving out or having a drink. That's gone out of the picture, right? So one learning that, if I can put it across, is the duration of the session should be such that, it's fairly focused. The customers can go in, go out. And you might also have to have a mindset that not one customer is going to attend all the events, which means that, I can attend a 11 o'clock session, I take a break, do something, and then I come back and attend a 3 o'clock session. So that's what I would say has been our learning.
And you said another thing that I noticed in your address. As I said, this event I'm attending fully to learn, because we do more than 170 events in BW and about 50 events in exchange for media. You said that people like to attend events on Wednesday and Thursdays, right? Yeah. You said that. And which is, again, an insight. And I'll tell you, in my interactions with business fraternity, and I do interact a lot with business leaders, promoters, they prefer Saturday a lot, trust me. Because Saturday they have lesser work, so they can be more engaged. Now, but I'm taking what you say very seriously, because that's what data supports. So I will look at data always in a very deep way. Now, let me again bring in Ganesh into the conversation. Ganesh, differentiation is the key, right? We look at Zoom because of simplicity of use. It's simplicity of use. And the seventh point in our research is pricing. Now, tell us, how will you balance scale and pricing? I want to ask that to everyone. Because again, pricing is a function of customization. It's a function of, features. It's a function of the service aspect to an event tech platform, which does exist. Because to be able to create the experience, both for the brand and for the stakeholders, you need to bring in. So give us a sense of how do you balance scale and pricing? Ganesh?
What really happens is that, over a period of this is a very nascent industry. So, everybody started with experimenting and we moved on. And the scale has been built over the last, 6-8 months. So obviously, the way we have seen it happen is that, we're doing much more work at lesser cost. And, that's the discussion actually I was having just yesterday with my co-founder, where we're saying that, we're doing much more work, actually delivering much more value for lesser money than usual. But I think that's the way things will evolve. And unless there is spirit through innovation, at every stage, I don't think we're at any point in time going to see the margins go up. So the scale will be built, the service and relationship, like any business, is going to be the key. So pricing is going to have downward pressures always unless you have breakthrough innovations. And that's why I say technology and innovation is going to be the key.
Beautiful. I think you brought out the point that I was looking for. Vishal, let me ask you, so how do you build your product as a premium product? Service is one aspect, customization is one aspect. You talked of purpose in terms of sustainability. If the practices you use to be able to put up a virtual event have sustainability practices and of course superior technology. But how do you bring premium so that you're a premium offering? Because there is a very little differentiation between event tech platform. The service aspect is a differentiator, but beyond that, how do you bring differentiation and get premium pricing?
So Dr. Batra, in my view, there are two aspects to an event, right? One is the aspect of creating a differentiated experience for the customer, and I love Piyush's point on making customer at the center of the whole planning process. So that has to be there, right? So you have to create differentiated experience. But there are so many other aspects of the event planning and execution that can be standardized, which, because typically an event industry has been a services industry, has not happened. So how do you, for example, standardize venue search and venue planning, right? Every time, we used to plan for a venue, you would take probably, 3, 4, 5 weeks to do a 3D modeling of the venue. Can you, reduce it like we've done on SPALBA, right? We've created a process where you can actually do the venue planning within a matter of few minutes in an immersive 3D environment. So, productization and standardization of those aspects which are not customer facing will give you benefits in terms of reduction in cost and predictable outcomes. And I think that's going to be the key in the future. You can keep focusing on creating a differentiated experience. That is where most of your effort should go. But rest of the aspects should be standardized and productized to the extent possible. And that's what we have tried to do in SPALBA. We have tried to make sure that there are opportunities in the entire services ecosystem of events and taken them out and converted them into a standardized product offering for the event planners and the brands.
Thank you so much. Anubhav, again, I would like to ask you that everyone is talking of technology as a differentiator, and you said you started doing virtual events in 2017, but only in mid to 2020 post-COVID, it became more prevalent. I would still say the norm, but it became more prevalent. Tell us, what will drive the next set of adoption? What will make it virtual events the new normal? And will there be a freemium model and a premium model? So, for example, being at a physical event is more premium, whereas being at a virtual event is less premium? Or should it be the other way around?
Yeah, I mean, I would personally say that the other way around is more premium, looking at the current situation, wherein you can actually have the same experience of a physical event attending it virtually. So what I personally feel is that as things open up, moving ahead, obviously physical setups are going to be there, and in my opinion, the tech that we cracked or we're working on is live tagging of hotspots in a 360-degree streaming of a physical venue. So it's like you are in an event hall where you have all kinds of physical setups available. You can actually choose which stall you want to go visit and actually have a face-to-face conversation with the stall owner or other people who are attending that. And you are actually experiencing the event in a 360-degree environment of the same location. So I'm not talking about any 3D or experiential content here. I mean, I'm talking about the real footage that is coming out of the actual event hall. So in my opinion, that is something that is going to grow a lot. But apart from this, another factor which is going to be very, very important is the use of video APIs, wherein we can create
integration.
More of collaboration. It's more like one to many kind of a situation right now. In order to make it more communicative, more engaging, video API and as Piyush had pointed out in his presentation, the use of artificial intelligence to ensure that the matchmaking, rather we can use this terminology, the matchmaking can happen in a more precise kind of a manner. Wherein, I know that, Dr. Batra is my target. The moment I have the database with me, I know who all I have to pitch my product to, or what is the way forward to approach. What is it that you like? What are your interests? So that I can talk about your interest only. So all these things, all these data points can be brought onto the table only via machine learning and AI tools. Yes, as we go ahead, the platform look and feels and the immersiveness, this will continue to grow. I mean, I'm really excited. The kind of designs that are coming out, I don't know where these 3D designers were all this while. All of a sudden, things are looking really happy.
Yeah. Some of the sets look like James Cameron movies. Clearly Avatar. I remember maybe 10 years back I watched the Avatar, and clearly, really the experience is outstanding, I would say, and it continues to evolve. Let me bring in Sachin and ask you the same question. Sachin, what is your learning in terms of doing so many events with customers? That one learning that will help you grow this domain and everyone on this panel will benefit.
See, sir, in my learning, what I've experienced is that each brand has its own personality. And for that, in every event, what I've also learned is that if you can create experiences, which we were event managers were doing, you are great. And if you can code and you can use code to connect, create those experiences, you're awesome. But if you can do both, you're unstoppable. So that is where we all are heading, and we have to understand our clients' unique requirement. Every brand has their own mission values. They have their own audience for whom they're organizing their events. So, like you mentioned 3 C's in the morning, I'm also mentioning 3 C's of hybrid for now, which is content, code, and connectivity. So content, yes, like people are using now different softwares. The softwares our designers were working earlier are not working on the same softwares now. So there is evolution happening everywhere. The skills are upgrading, our teams are upgrading. So everything is changing. So content is changing. Coding, now our teams are evolving. Earlier, we never had coders, developers and server, AWS server engineers. So now the teams are changing. And of course, the connectivity, the entire infrastructure in our offices has upgraded. So this is where the change is happening. And that is where a company which can provide all those solutions to that particular client with their brand experience will be able to grow.
Thank you so much. And time is of essence. So I'd like to close the panel But I'd like to start with Piyush this time. Piyush, your closing comments on how, and I want to say life is about abundance. This industry is growing. There is a space for all of you. And again, your own uniqueness, both of the platform of your service aspect and your understanding of the business will help you grow your own platforms and your businesses. Piyush, your closing comment, 30-second comment on what you see happening over the next 6 months. These days, we tend to talk of future in 3 months, 6 months, and not years. When we talk to you in 6 months and do the second edition of the Virtual Event Tech Summit, what would have changed?
I think the way we are looking at it is we want to democratize this space, right? Yes, the experience will be there. There will be always brands who would want it in a certain way, right? But if it has to change, right? If it has to grow, and now it's time when people have got used to it, people know what virtual is. I think democratizing it becomes very important. How can we make sure that everyone, whether it's a startup, it's a small and medium-sized organization, it's a large enterprise who are already using it, can use it without thinking money in mind, So we'll have to get used to it as event organizers, that it will not be a 2 crore event anymore. It might be a 20,000 event that you're doing, right? And then, the
volume. Volume.
It is
the volume will drive. And dare I say, I'd like to close by saying I'd like to keep on time. So we have a summit till about 8 p.m. today. So we're already like 20 minutes late. So I'm taking some time. But I'd say that the one thing that needs to change, and all of you said about it in some way, in your own, we need to become technology companies who understand experiences and not just event management companies who do events. I think if that mindset, and I can see that mindset represented on this panel. So I'm very hopeful about the future. I'd like to thank you, Piyush, Sachin, Ganesh, Anubhav, and Vishal for first putting together these event tech platform and making sure that business carried on. Thank you so much. Some of you are presenting your products, event tech platforms during the day. All the best. I'll be glued on and watching every session except between 12 and 1 when I go and do my BW Legal World Saturday podcast. Thank you so much. God bless you. Back to you, Raman.